Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Good to have you in this edition of Season Insights, and
Pleasure is mine, sir. Pleasure is mine.
yeah, and congratulations on the publication of the book. So,
Uh, Thank you very much.
so I'd just like to start with a brief about yourself.
Sir, I'm a lawyer of about 14 years of experience, practicing predominantly in the Madras High Court. But I keep traveling to different courts across the country, the Supreme Court, other high courts, arbitral tribunals, National Green Tribunal, other tribunals as well. I focus on different, in fact, I juggle between a lot of aspects. I do corporate law, commercial law, arbitration, environmental law, constitutional matters, civil criminal. So I wear several hats. But of course, environmental law has been a pet peeve for me for a long time. So there is a history about it. Probably during the course of our
Mhm.
conversation, you will get to know why my liking towards environmental law. So that's what I am. I'm also an arbitrator, empaneled with the High Court, and I've been appointed as an arbitrator in many matters. And in one sensitive matter relating to environmental law, more importantly regarding protection of water bodies, I had the
Mhm.
benefit of assisting the full bench of the Madras High Court as an amicus curiae. So I had the
Oh,
opportunity to
great. Mhm.
understand that aspect as well. So all these things probably led us to where we are today with the book, is
Ah,
what I.
yeah, and also a few words about your co-author, Justice Jyotimani.
Justice Jyotimani, in fact, he's like a father figure for all of us. He was a judge of the Madras High Court from 2005 to 2012. He was one among the most popular, very affable judges of the Madras High Court. During his tenure, he has given a lot of judgments, more importantly on environmental law, more specific to be the judgment on the Kudankulam nuclear plant, whether it can have a go ahead. He was the
Mhm.
one who cleared the decks for the plant. Subsequently, his judgment was approved by the Supreme Court. So he dealt with that. Subsequent to his retirement, he was appointed as a member, a judicial member of the National Green Tribunal, the tribunal that focuses on environmental matters. So he served his
Mhm.
full term of 5 years as a member of the NGT, and also he serves as a member assisting the Tamil Nadu government in the solid waste management. He oversees the committee as the chairman of the committee. So his rich experience in environmental law, coupled with my experience, probably led us to plan for the book. And as I told in my book release a few months back, that he was the
Mhm.
captain, but as a vice captain, he led our team play most of the innings. So I should thank him for that.
Yeah, so I guess you kind of answered the question that I was coming to next in terms of why the book. So I guess to a large extent it's been answered. But was there any particular trigger that made you very seriously think about putting it down on
See,
paper?
my connection to environmental law was perhaps when I was a law student. So in
Hmm.
2010, I was in my touching into my final year. We had the NGT Act, the National Green Tribunal Act, that was brought in. It was a replacement where the High Court that dealt with
Hmm.
environmental matters mostly, that power was shifted to the NGT. So, being an enthusiastic law student with somebody who knows about the basics of environmental law, I said, how can the NGT take away the power of the High Court? And
Hmm.
there came another shocker where the government said they can appoint judicial members and expert members or technical members on deputation basis. So you basically had a route where a IAS officer who's sitting as a IAS officer in the government would come and sit as a judge for about 3 years in the NGT with a
Hmm.
lean retained, and he'll go back to the government. So that pretty much would hurt his independence as a member of the NGT, because you need to be a member who's independent, not having any connections with the government or having any fetters. So, as a party in person, in fact, in 2010, I had challenged the act, saying that the High Court's power cannot be taken away, number one. And number two, the tribunal cannot comprise of members who are on deputation basis. You need to have full time members with no control by the government. The
Right.
division bench
Hmm.
of our High Court here in Madras granted stay of those rules. The
Hmm.
government, the union went on an appeal to Supreme Court, and they gave up and said, no, we will not make any appointments on deputation basis. So that was
Okay.
my first brush with environmental law, that too with the core of it. And subsequently, as I told you, a couple of many matters have appeared as a counsel in environmental matters. And
Hmm.
in the full bench matter, we saw that the government order in Tamil Nadu paved way for water bodies that become disused for 6 months, 1 year, or a little more. to be converted into house sites. See, a water
Right.
body is a water body at the end of the day. You can't convert into a house sites. And
Right.
recently you saw in Chennai, in Hyderabad, in most places, where the flood waters entered the first floor of houses. So basically, you construct in a water body, water is going to be there. You can't change the water's course. So
Correct.
all these put together paved way for that. And in 2019 to 21, I had a brief stint as a standing counsel for the Pollution Control Board. So I was on this
Mhm.
side of things, so we understood what was there. So pretty much everything combined together. I had a talk with Justice Jyotimani and I said that why don't we plan a book? He said, "You're most welcome. Let's plan it up. And with the good wishes of people like you and your team, we are where we are today. So thanks to you as well for all the support that you have rendered over time."
You're welcome, sir. It's been a pleasure. And see, one question, I guess, we have spoken about this multiple times, but I'll come back to that. The title of the book. So you and I have spoken about
the
this many times, but
Yeah, we have had a discussion multiple times,
yeah.
but with due respect to all friends,
Mhm.
what we during our research we found was there were a few good commentaries on the subject available, but there was a need for an exhaustive commentary from scratch to the end. I
Mhm.
would not say end because the law keeps growing. From the
Right.
scratch to the farthest point that we could reach, we needed an
Mhm.
exhaustive commentary on the environmental law and on pollution control. And that had to be a guide for the practitioners who are lawyers. At the same time, for the judges, because even judges, they always read and they want some material, they need
Correct.
a reference source. At the
Right.
same time, for academicians who are into research, they also would need to have a place where they can look up to. So
Mhm.
we had spent more than 2 years because you gave us a year and a half as deadline. We breached it. Still, you were accommodative because you said the quality mattered over quantity. So we
Quantity.
spent more than 2.5 years, and we have
Mhm.
covered elaborately on the subject. I think you made it a two-volume book because we wanted it to be a one volume. But considering the volume of the work, I think you have said that it is going to be a two-volume. So the book pretty much covers most of the aspects. So
Right.
how the concept of environmental law originated? It didn't originate in India.
Mhm.
It, of course, in the ethos, India has been close to the environment. We have, as people, we have lived close with the environment. We have worshipped the sun, we have worshipped the moon, we have worshipped the animals, we have worshipped the forest. So pretty much
Mhm.
our connection to the environment has always been there. But in
Right.
terms as a codified law, what happened was till 1970. Of course, we would have had some enactments prior to that. Till about 1970, we did not have a law for pollution control.
Mhm.
So we had the Stockholm conference that happened about 50 years back.
Right.
So
Mm.
that started it and said that, see, as nations, we need to bring up some legal framework. We
Mhm.
need to ensure that all countries have some minimum standard for the governments and the citizens to follow. So in
Mhm.
1972 was the Stockholm conference, and then subsequent to that, you had the Water Pollution Act, followed by the Air Pollution Act, 74 and 81. And then the Environmental Protection Act came in 86. So basically, the Water Act has become a 50-year-old man, possibly man or a woman. It's probably past its midlife crisis. Environmental
Right.
Protection Act is probably touching 40 years, so it's having its midlife crisis. So
Right.
that's what we have addressed in the book. So we have had several enactments covered in detail. We have covered the NGT Act, we have
Mhm.
covered wildlife, forest, and then we have covered constitutional law, how the courts have paved way. In India, mostly, sir,
Mhm.
in the last 50 years, the
Mhm.
march of the environmental law should possibly be more rooted to, or probably, if you relate to it, it is the courts that played the role.
Mhm.
You could recollect about 40 years back, we had the oleum gas leak, the tragedy.
Yes. Yes.
That
Yes.
was the biggest tragedy that we saw. And the
Mhm.
Supreme Court had stepped in on multiple occasions to see how best the victims could be put back to their own shape. They cannot, of course, never be put back where they are, but of
Mm.
course, to see how the victims could be put back, how to rehabilitate them, how to make them get back to their old lives, are things that
Yeah.
the Supreme Court continuously kept doing. And subsequent to that, you would have seen even the recent case where the Supreme Court has said the right to be free from the after effects of climate change. That's now we're
Yeah.
being recognized as a fundamental right by Justice Chandrachud's bench, Chief Justice Chandrachud's bench,
Mhm.
about say 6 months to a year back.
6 months. Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
So we have seen, we
So
have yes, yes, sir.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead. I mean, you
So
were saying something. Sorry, I cut
we
you.
have seen the elaborate march of law. So we have
Mm-hmm.
covered most subjects on environmental impact assessment, on CRZ, coastal regulation zone, on biodiversity. So we have had most of the aspects of environmental law covered. And as authors, we are always open to suggestions. So our first volume will teach us what we need to cover more in the second volume, and what
Yeah.
makes others happy, possibly with the what we have done. So that also we'll probably be able to see.
Good. Now, if I were to ask you in terms of, I know it's difficult to quantify it in just five, but what are the five top um, salient points, if you will, for the book? Uh, if I were to go in an order, what would be the top five? I mean, I know there are many more, but
No,
just the
I would
top five.
first say that we have made it into a coherent, comprehensive work. So it is
Okay.
starting with A, ending with Z, in terms
Mm-hmm.
of the subjects. So you pretty much would have most of what you want, what you search in our book, starting with how the law developed to how environmental clearances and everything works.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, we have ensured that we have stayed up to date. We had a book release in September. We had a
Right.
judgment delivered 2 days back by the Madras High Court on a very significant point. Now, our
Mm-hmm.
book that's hitting the market now this week has even that judgment covered. So we have
Mm-hmm.
covered the up to date aspect. So this book is up to date as much as it can get close to.
Correct.
Number
Correct. Correct.
three,
Yeah.
we have ensured that we have given all different legal aspects that a person would want. For instance, you want to know whether a order of the NGT could be challenged in the High Court. You have an
Mm-hmm.
answer for that. You want to
Right.
know whether the High Court has a power right now to interfere with certain aspects when the NGT is there. You have an answer for that. And
Right.
whether an expert committee report can be the basis for passing an order by the NGT. You have an answer for that.
You have
So
answered
a
that.
lot of
Yeah.
questions that contemporary practitioners and judges would have, we have tried to cover it up in our work. And four, what I would say is we have ensured that the depth of the work is proper. So we have covered all case laws, all developments, all legal developments, and also we have concentrated on instances and incidences in the recent past that have paved way
Mm-hmm.
for these things. And number five, to be honest, we have been critical in certain views. We
Okay.
have been honest to be critical, and that's what I was coming to in some time. That
Yeah.
what we have said is there are certain changes required to be made.
Mm-hmm.
We have made this a commentary, but at the same time, for the policymakers and the lawmakers, we have
Mm-hmm.
given them something for their consideration, where we have said, though what is presently there is fine, it is not
Mm-hmm.
absolutely fine. There are a lot
Yeah.
to be done, more importantly, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of overhauls, because
Mm-hmm.
the central government and the union legislature, that is the parliament, over the
Mm-hmm.
last 10 years has made a lot of changes. You even know recently where the criminal law is being
Yes.
replaced. A 160
Correct.
year old criminal law was replaced overnight.
It's
So
replaced. Yes.
possibly the parliament felt there was a need for it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
what we also highlighted in our work, that what the laws that we have right now need to be
Mm-hmm.
all made as comprehensive, up to date, to go up with the changing needs of time. Sir,
Yeah.
the last
Relevant,
law was
basically. Yeah.
1986. So you
Right.
need it to be changed. And in fact, this
Mm-hmm.
point was pointed out by the Supreme Court also in the Sterlite case, where there was some conflicts pointed out. So
Mm-hmm.
what we now propose in the book, of course, subject to what the parliamentarians and the lawmakers would think of it, that
Mm-hmm.
the law relating to environmental protection and pollution needs to
Mm-hmm.
be now made as a comprehensive singular law. So, like how you had the insolvency and bankruptcy code, which codified all
Right.
laws relating to insolvency and bankruptcy. And
Together. Yeah.
between
Mm.
2016 to 2024, 25, the law has been successful. Banks have recovered
Correct.
substantial monies. And like that, we want the environmental protection code. So, where
Mm-hmm.
EIA, environmental impact assessment, coastal regulation zone, air, water, soil, noise, all kinds of pollution is put in one
Mm-hmm.
box. And more importantly, it is updated to stay in tune with times. So that is also something that we have proposed in the book. So right from beginning to tracing the origins to giving us suggestions, our book 1 to 5 pretty much has most of it for the readers to see and give the
Yeah.
feedback whenever they want to.
No, very true. I think you put it very well. And so again, for the purpose of our viewers, who exactly would it benefit? I mean, I know you can categorize saying professionals, etc., but if you have to be a little more specific in terms of who would be uh, the book for, most
Sir,
useful for.
this is a subject that is universal. See, for instance, taxation is
Hmm.
an exclusive subject. Not many of us would understand that.
Right.
Insolvency law is a specific subject. But
Hmm.
if you see today, constitutional law is something that's taught in schools. School students have
Yes.
started reading constitutional law. The reason is you need to
Yes.
know what's happening. And
Yes.
as equal as it is to constitutional law, environmental law, I would put it on a pedestal more because the reason is all the other laws govern our livelihood, our regulation, control. But environmental law is one subject that affects your very life. It affects your very living.
Yes. Yes.
So this book is for most of us, for lawyers, for judges, for policymakers, for
Hmm.
researchers, for academicians, for students, of course. A student, somebody
Yes.
wants to do a research on the subject. It is there. And somebody asked me during the book release some time back, they said, Sir, can a common man read it? I said, Yes. We have made the
Hmm.
language relatable to a common man, except for the technicalities that
Yes.
is there. A
That's
common
bound to
man
be
can
there.
read this
Yeah.
book.
Mm.
So it is a book for all, is what I believe. So we have covered it. Anybody who wants to know about what environmental law is, how the law is developed, it is a book for all. We have not made it as a rocket science book. It's not so
Right.
it would have parts of technicality in some subjects, but by and
Hmm.
large, it is to be comprehensible and comprehended by all. That's what we intend for. But majorly, I would say it is for the members of the legal profession, for policymakers, for researchers, and for the agencies like NGOs and the
NGOs. Correct.
environmentalists also. They would want to
Yeah.
know what's happening. So
Mm.
pretty much we have given them that. We have not told what is what. We have also said what is wrong. So
What is
maybe
wrong?
they can take cues from what we say, and they would
True.
amplify it better than us. They know what is to be spoken.
Yes, that's very true. You made a mention about for students. So, do you have a thought process in mind to bring out a version which is smaller for students at some
Yes,
point?
certainly. I think that's something that I have in mind, and I had spoken to our research team as well. Because
Hmm.
if we can concise the book, it would be more appropriate for students. So,
Hmm.
subject to our launch and the book hitting the markets and us getting feedback, we can make a
Yeah.
concise edition. Like Durgadas Basu has a bigger edition for Constitution. At the
Yes.
same time, it has
Yes.
an edition for the students. So,
Hmm.
I believe that probably in 6 months or maximum a year's time, if
Hmm.
we can give a concise book comparing the curriculum of different law schools, the national law
Yeah.
schools and the other law schools, to make it as close as what they would want the students to know. I think we should be in a position to make a concise edition.
No, good. I mean, this has been a good explanation of the book, who it is for. I would like to ask you something outside this, which is you have been in the profession for quite a while now, right?
Yes.
Um, how do you see the legal fraternity now? I'm asking this question more in terms of, the number of students coming into the legal profession is actually increasing quite a bit, right? So, what is your advice to the incoming, I would say, students as well as the early stage professionals? What do you think it takes to be a successful professional in the field?
Sir, I would completely agree with you. I am probably a decade and a half in the profession now. When I became a lawyer, there were about, say, 8 to 10 law schools across the state. Majority were government
Correct.
law schools. We had two private
Mhm.
law schools in the state of Tamil Nadu. And in the last 15 years, the law schools have multiplied.
Yes.
And the demand for law as a profession, as a career opportunity, I see so many people studying law today. The number of people who are
Yes.
enrolling as lawyers has also substantially increased. So that
Yeah.
it's a good indication because I think you belong to the yesteryear, not to be in any manner reducing your youth, but of course you belong to your yesteryears. And during
Yes.
your times, it used to be that I go to the medical college, I don't get it. I go to the engineering college, I don't get it. I go to CA. If I don't
Yeah.
get anything, I'll go to the law college. So that
Correct.
mindset has certainly undergone a huge change.
Changed.
The
Mm.
career opportunities today has become multifold. In the yesteryears, it only used to be litigation. You become a lawyer, you come to court. But
Correct.
that's not the case today. You have multiple law firms. across international law firms, domestic law firms doing very well on all subjects. You
Hmm.
have specialized law firms. So, a thought process for a young law student to go into a law firm is always available. The litigation field is always open. The courts are always open for everybody. How much ever people
Right.
come in, it can absorb. The Supreme
Hmm.
Court, the high courts, and the lower
High
courts,
courts. Yes.
and the youngsters to become judges. So there is no age bar now. A colleague of mine who's 24, who worked with me, she's now a sitting magistrate in one among the subordinate courts in Tamil Nadu, and she's doing very well. So apart from that, many persons are opting law as a bouncing board for civil services because you need to read about a lot of things. So when you write a civil services
Correct.
exam, a lawyer
Hmm.
turned civil servant is always something advantageous. Apart from that, there are several law officer opportunities. There are different roles. So today, law is something fundamentally important. So I see the opportunities have grown big, and the smartness and the intelligence of students are certainly much ahead. The interns whom I see nowadays, very smart, very promising. They are much
Right.
ahead of time of many of them. So I
Hmm.
see a very good opportunity for all these youngsters. But one thing that I would probably give as a suggestion is the profession needs its time. You need to be a part of the profession. You need to be there warming up. Naturally, the gestation period is not 10 years, 15 years anymore. It's probably 3 to 5 years where you learn the law and you march ahead. And since you asked me about what's changed, there was a recent article in Bar and Bench, the
Hmm.
popular legal website, last week, written by a lawyer also, where she has told that the culture of giving seats is fast disappearing. That
Hmm.
article primarily meant, see, as lawyers today, if we are sitting in court and we see a senior advocate entering into the court, even when we see him entering, we will get up and say, "Sir, please take your seat." It is out
Yes.
of reverence and the respect for the seniority of the gentleman. And also, it's a guru Sishya relationship. You naturally learn from your
Correct.
seniors. So
Right.
that is, I've never, even when I've in my side eye, seen some senior, I would get up and give them the seat. See, it's not about somebody being superior, somebody being inferior, but naturally it
No,
is,
it's not. It's respect. It's
it's the
respect.
respect and
Yeah.
reverence to the seniority that you're giving. It's
Hmm.
something that we are taught from home. See, when a guest comes, somebody elder, you give up
Yes.
and
You
you
get up.
stand for them. It's not about thinking that you're losing your self-respect. Rather, you're giving the respect for the person that it is. But
Yes. Yes.
sorry if I'm appearing to be critical, but that culture is fast disappearing. I think the thought process is that I become a one night wonder. No, I'm sorry, you cannot become a one night wonder. In certainly not in any profession, certainly not in law. Even the best of the legal minds today, even the topmost lawyers of the Supreme Court, with whom I have interacted in many matters, they keep saying that they still are learning and reading in the profession today. You don't stop learning as a lawyer.
You don't stop learning at all. Yes. Correct. That's
So
very true.
that level of understanding and a little bit of humility. See, you can be aggressive, assertive as a lawyer, but a little bit of humility and that fellow respect for the human being is important. See, it's the camaraderie that is required. As we call, you're called into the bar, so you become a part of a bigger family.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
your individual ambition might always be there, but what you should understand that is you're a part of a big setup. So
Correct.
you should
Hmm.
never forgive or rather forget what you are made of. So I think
Hmm.
if any youngsters are watching it, very good to your personal ambition, but please be a part of the setup. Don't forget these fundamentals that first you're a good human being, then you become a good lawyer.
Yeah.
No good
I
lawyer is
think.
made without being a good human being.
Yeah. Correct. And I think the point that you made about the fact that there is a period you need to spend to understand, learn before you actually become really active, right? I think
Correct.
that is very true. And I think, I mean, of all professions, I think in law it's very, very important because at the end of the day, what you're doing for a client affects him in a lot of ways.
Certainly.
So you really have to be absolutely careful, knowledgeable. You should know, I mean, you should know your law before you really take on anything. So there
Certainly.
definitely not an overnight when wonder is just not there. That's for a fact.
In
That's
fact,
understood.
on this note, I need to share a judge of our High Court when I was casually interacting. He's very good on the criminal law. He's a very seasoned criminal practitioner. That's the reason he was elevated. So he was
Hmm.
making a very subtle remark. He said when a lawyer files one bail application in the High Court or a district court, he assumes that he's a criminal lawyer. See, the bail application is very limited, whether your client should get bail or not. Has he made out
Not.
a case?
That's
That's
it.
all. But
Mm.
on the other hand, as a criminal lawyer, you need to know the law because you deal with the lives of people. You might
Correct.
be defending clients who are on a life imprisonment or on the death verdict, where it's a referred trial to the High Court. Whether that man is going to be hanged or not is in your hands. So
Absolutely. Yes.
you need to be knowing that. You need to be spending
Correct.
time, as you rightly said, knowing that because you can't. There is so much to it. It's as they say, there are two things required for a lawyer. I have spoken this in other places also. One is gift of the gab, a very good language, naturally a command. And second is presence of mind. And presence
Yes.
of mind is not about what you speak. It's sometimes about what you don't speak.
Don't speak. Yeah.
In sometimes we have seen in court a judge before you begin might be in your favor. So the
Right.
best thing as a lawyer, you smile, keep quiet.
Keep
So
quiet.
probably your brief is through. Some over
True.
enthusiastic people tend to talk and tilt the
Yes.
judge to something uncomfortable where he'll pounce on you.
Correct.
So
No, no,
this is
that's
something that
true.
you need to know.
A-
Uh,
Absolutely. So, coming to the last bit of it, we know we have the launch that you have planned for the 24th. And what we will do is that, I mean, after the launch, we will also see how it goes and in terms of feedback, like you said, what kind of feedback we get from the market, how we can improve the book. So we will discuss that. And anything else that you would like to add before we close off?
Sir, on the subject per se,
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
one thing that we have done, what we have researched, see, there is a public awakening that is required.
Hmm.
Because on environmental law is the legal aspect of it, but the
Right.
environment is what the environment is. And one thing that most of us might forget is Newton's third law. But one person that who does not forget Newton's third law is the environment itself.
Yes.
So for every action, there will
There is
certainly
an
be an
equal
equivalent and opposite reaction from nature,
reaction and a
as
violent
the
reaction
nature
most times.
wild reaction certainly. So now
Yes.
today we are discussing about climate change, about the after effects of pollution, and I think you travel often to Delhi for my work to Supreme Court. Even I travel. Today we fear traveling in the months of October to January because the level of smog and pollution is so bad
Yes.
that breathing as residents of Chennai we find difficulty breathing in Delhi. See,
Correct.
this
You're absolutely
problem
right.
was there. This problem
Hmm.
was there in China, in Beijing, the same problem. But they were able to, by consistent efforts. I'm not appreciating China for the sake of it. I'm
Understood.
appreciating China only on these limited aspects. Otherwise, I'm a very proud Indian, and I think our country is doing fantastic. So, no offense to our country, but in terms of taking hard measures to combat pollution, to make this place a livable place. We need to be doing a lot more. And I think small steps, right from taking public transport to ensuring that we don't waste paper or water that we
Yeah.
use, we can be a little more austere in the way we spend water. We can probably
Hmm.
do carpooling. That's what I've spoken in the book release when the judges of the Supreme Court had come. Even now, some judges of our High Court in Madras, they all join in one car, 4, 5 judges. What they do is they save 4 cars traveling from the High Court to their residence to the
Correct.
High Court. So these
Correct.
kind of small efforts from our side, and little more being a little more disciplined. See, when you throw your garbage or your waste, ensure that you throw it in a dustbin. Now, people, they drop it
Yes.
there and they just walk off. And
Correct.
this self discipline is something that we need to have because the more we trouble the nature, the more it is going to trouble you. You saw what happened in
Absolutely.
Wayanad and Uttarakhand a few months back.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I believe that we need to buck up so that apart from being persons talking on the law, we need to be people talking on the protection of the environment also. So
No,
something that all of
absolutely.
us should take a role. And I believe that we just do a small bit. That's what we have done, contributing. And I think it's up to our people to just take it forward.
Good. No, I think you're absolutely right. And definitely there is an awakening required from all of us. From all of us. It's not just the law. Common citizens, you see it every day.
Yes.
I mean, we are both from Chennai, so it's easy to relate to.
Yes.
I don't think we have seen rains in Chennai the way we have seen in the last year. I mean,
Certainly.
it's rained continuously almost every month. we've never had
Sir,
temperature
on
dip
this
of so
climate
much.
change, what you rightly
Yeah,
say, something that we have been noticing for the last 6, 7 years, more specifically, summers are getting hotter,
hotter.
winters are getting colder,
Yeah.
rainfall is getting unpredictable, uneven, and sometimes extremely unimaginable rainfalls. One day it pours.
Yes.
See, the central part of Tamil Nadu, it has very
Hmm.
minimal rainfall. You saw what happened a few months back.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
central part of
Yes.
Tamil Nadu got battered because of unexpected rain. You had the bridges being broken. So
Yes.
all these are effects of climate change, and if we don't realize now, I think it would be too late in the day. Because the Hindu, there was a very nice article a few weeks back, where it said in the year 2050,
Hmm.
2050, most parts of the state and even some parts of the country would experience thermal discomfort throughout the year. We would experience
Hmm.
thermal discomfort in the summer season. They say that no, it's not going to be that. The season is going to be badly changing. So you will be experiencing thermal discomfort throughout the year. So these are caveats coming from nature saying that be careful.
Yeah,
If not, you're heading for it. So I think that if as a citizenry, all of us wake up and take some initiative on a comprehensive level, I'm sure we should be
absolutely.
able to combat what we are expecting in the future and probably reduce the after effects. We cannot stop it. Certainly, there is no stopping
Correct.
it. Climate
Yes.
change is a phenomena. The only question is how can we stop the after effects or stop the consequences contributing it to reduce? Because
Reduce.
most of us are now shifting to conventional renewable sources of energy. We are shifting to
Right.
solar. We are shifting to wind. But the
Hmm.
question is, you have electric cars. What do you do with the
Yeah,
battery? Is battery of electric car, is it renewable? Are we making it a
absolutely.
renewable? The answer is no. So all these things maybe time would answer.
No.
So we just believe our book is a small tribute to nature. That's what I said in my book release, that this book is a tribute to nature, Mother Nature, and to a contribution to all of us to hear your feedback and to just make the second edition, which will hopefully come in a year or a year and a half, to be a much a
Definitely.
better edition. So if you have
Sure.
any bouquets, throw at us. If you have any brickbats, throw at me. So we'll be more than happy to accept that.
No, there's no need of any brickbats. I think it'll be fine.
No, it is just in a lighter vein that
Yeah,
as
no, it'll be
lawyers, we
fine.
always give caveats plus and minus. So I
Correct.
just gave my caveat.
No, no, absolutely. And thank you very much, Naveen. It's been a pleasure. So I will touch base with you, just before the launch.
Well,
And
perfect, sir. Thank you. Pleasure is mine.
yeah, and
And
once
my
this is
thanks to
live, I'll
Team
let you
South
know.
Shore. My thanks to Team South Shore and you and your team who have been very accommodative and very helpful in the entire process. And I must take this opportunity to thank all my colleagues, several research interns, my colleagues from the office who had spent several nights and several mornings for the book. So I
Mhm.
hope this serves as a good addition to the library of whoever is going to purchase it in some time. And
Yeah,
we hope to work further on this.
sure. Thank you very much again. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.